Good afternoon, everyone. This is Chairman Martin Millibar. I would like to start this meeting. If Mrs. Rodriguez, can you call the roll?
Gladly. Good afternoon, board members and members of the public. President Millibar,
Here.
Director Stamara,
Here.
Director Martin is not able to join us today, but we do have alternate Director Gilkey. Thank you. Director Luna,
Present.
Director Chang,
Here.
Director Anabdawi was also not able to join us today, but we do have alternate Dennis Lamoureux at remote location.
Here.
Thank you. And Mr. Weed. All right. We have a quorum. Everyone's here.
Sorry, President Millibar, would you mind pushing the button to talk? Sir? Thank you.
Should have left it on. I don't have to press buttons where I come from. I got a thing and it just records. I don't know why we have to press buttons, but anyway, we're gonna go into closed session and we anticipate being back out at around 2 o'clock. Is that correct?
That's correct, President Millibar. And just for the record, we haven't received any requests for public comment on the closed session items.
Do we have any?
We do not.
Oh.
Thank you.
All right, we can move into closed session then. Okay, we'll reconvene the open session. Any report out of the closed session, Josh?
No reportable action, President Millibar. Thank you.
Okay, thank
Uh,
you.
And President Millibar, I do want to take a moment and acknowledge alternate directors in person here or online. So we have alternate Director Palmer, Fast, McMillan, and Plinsky.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Well, we'll open the meeting and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, we're at item 5, public comment. Are there anybody that wants to make a comment? You can raise your hand. You can let Claudia know. Has any public comments come in yet?
President Millibar, we have not received public comment requests for this item.
Okay. Okay, we'll move on to item 6, approval of minutes from June 18th, 2025. Have,
Motion to approve?
was that Tony?
Yes.
Go ahead, Tony.
Oh, motion to approve.
I'll second it. Oh, okay. And we have a second. Do we need to do a roll call?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Please do.
And I'm sorry, I missed the second motion. Oh,
Director
thank you.
Luna.
All right, President Millibar,
Aye.
alternate Director Gilkey,
Yes.
Director Luna,
Yes.
Director Stamara,
Aye.
Director Chang,
Aye.
alternate Director Lamoureux,
Yes.
and Director Weed. Great, thank you. Meeting minutes approved.
And no public comment, right?
That is correct.
I have to ask you every time, don't I? Okay,
You do, yes.
thank you. I'll move on to item 7A. Graham, the staff report for the month.
Thank you, President Millibar. I'll let Claudia pull up our monthly report. So we do have a revamp. I just want to highlight, we've done another push on the monthly board report. I want to thank our communications team for helping us work through just some of the look and feel of the document. We have continued on with our executive summary format. So we have the cover sheet and then a lot of detail that's behind it. If there's interest, We're going to continue to add detail to this report. So I would expect this to continue to evolve a bit in the coming months, but this is our new standard look and feel. Our key priorities for the fiscal year along the left-hand side are ongoing permit efforts to support DWRs. They continue through the major permit activities. Our engineering studies, so we're really targeted at this point, advancing the overall design of the project. So we're currently at about a 10% concept level design, and that's been generally the position we've had the engineering since the finalization of the EIR, but we're now into a position where we're advancing that overall system design. We're targeting something on the order of a 20%, intending to likely stop short of what would typically be referred as a preliminary design. Our intention is really conceptually, that's where the handoff would occur to final design teams as they come onto the program to pick up the individual features and carry them into that 30% design as an initial task for that handoff. But moving the overall system-wide design another 10%, as you can imagine, is a pretty substantial effort and something that the team is really focused on at this point. We do have, we're thinking about kind of the long-range plan over the next couple of years. We're still targeting the release of an updated cost estimate for the program in early 2027. And this engineering work is intended to inform a more accurate cost estimate with a much more narrow band of accuracy associated with our opinion of most probable cost. Lastly, within the organization, we're thinking about what happens after this current phase and the work that we need to do to position the DCA to have the systems in place, the management systems, the software, the procedures on board so that we can start to transition the design work and eventually construction work over to the significant team of vendors that we're going to need to bring on board. So a lot of work to do behind the scenes to make sure that we have the systems in place and we're able to efficiently make that transition. So the financials, we are going to include now the full monthly plot of financials on the executive summary. I think having tested the quarterly approach over the past several months, I think the month-by-month depiction is going to provide more overall value. We're continuing to work on the data quality that we're using here and really focused on getting much more real-time information incorporated into the report. So what you're seeing here in terms of monthly spend for July is still based on the old approach of using processed invoices and validated actual costs as the basis for financial updates. But we're actually in the process of migrating, and the third bullet down identified as work progress, showing 5% estimated spend of the committed amount compared to 6% complete on progress, is a better, more accurate representation of where we are financially. And that's based on a much more timely reporting of anticipated expenditures, which is now being separated from the invoicing process. And then we validate those expenditures as the invoices come in our process. So this is the type of evolution we're looking at. This is the direction we need to go in terms of much more tighter controls and understanding of where we are financially and the progress being made in terms of budget. Just as a reminder, we have a $65 million approved budget for the current fiscal year. We're currently sitting at a total committed amount, meaning amount issued through task orders and contracts of $55 million. The difference there being really amounts associated with geotech field work, other work that's currently enjoined and limited right now. We have not issued those funds in terms of task orders, but if and when we're able to get back out into the field, we'll augment our contracts and task orders to include that scope and budget. So in terms of our work progress, I mentioned as of July, completion of 1 month, we're estimating our progress at 6% based on all the deliverables and workforce that we have programmed into the team. Estimated expenditure at this point of 5%. So we're at least as of the first month of the year on a pretty good pace. In terms of our closeout of last fiscal year, I do want to comment the small business DVBE participation number. You can see it's a very low number. This is not something that's typical for us. And what this reflects is this data comes from our invoicing information. And so for the moment, what you're seeing is just a very small piece associated with about 600,000 total invoiced amount. That's rent, utilities. Those have very little small business participation. But once we have a more complete picture of the actual invoiced amounts, you're going to see more relevant small business information coming through. Typically, we kind of hover around the 10% range, and I'd expect to be back in that same ballpark. So I just wanted to flag that 1% in case you picked up on that. In terms of last fiscal year's budget, we are in the closeout phase for the fiscal year, having closed that as of June 30th. We still have a couple of remaining invoices that we're working our way through, drafting our annual report information. But we're pretty well locked in on a total expenditure for last year of about 31.5 million, which is about 26% under the approved budget. So sort of a relic of what was in terms of how we operate, and a demonstration of really some of the things that need to change going forward as we really start to transition and get ourselves into position to deliver the program. Our procurements right now, we have been going through now for several months the executive strategic support services procurements, and several of these items are on the agenda today, and our Chief Contracting Officer, Adrian Brown, will update the board. We've got 5 remaining that are on the agenda. We did 3 back in June. We've got 5 more to do today, and that should wrap up the executive support services procurement. We've got a number of other somewhat smaller procurements that are ongoing. Primavera P6, that's to establish our own schedule hosting as opposed to using our vendor platforms, employee assistance programs, and other various business service procurements that we need to take care of. In terms of our outreach program, we've got our communications team up and running, so they're still exploring the social media program and starting to put their own mark on how we communicate the progress of the project. So I would expect to see an uptick coming soon on that. We've been doing a lot of kind of pausing and resetting around a lot of that communication. But at the same time, we have started to issue some updated fact sheets, most recently reducing impacts and cost efficiencies. And then the team did attend the Southern California BIA conference recently and hosted a booth down there. So our communications team is up and running, and outreach program is taking a beat to get organized, and we're going to resume our normal progress. So President Millibar, that completes my executive summary, but would be happy to answer any questions.
Just a comment, Mr. President, that just positive feedback on the digital version, that when you click on the tabs, they work. So it gets you to it. So thank you.
Thank you for the feedback. Appreciate it.
No other comments from those online? Tony, any comment? No?
No, thank you.
Okay, very good. How about public comment? Do we have any public comments?
President Millibar, no public comments.
Okay, that completes 7A. We'll move on to 7B. Update on our summer internship program. Who's gonna head that up?
I'll start it out, President Millibar. Unfortunately, Marcy Scott, our HR manager, was not able to join us today. She has a conflict, but fortunately she was able to record her comments here.
Oh,
and so I will say that we had another very successful internship program for interns. I'm sure Marcy's gonna cover the details, so I don't want to jump ahead of her, but I would be happy to answer any questions at the conclusion of the video.
Okay, please proceed.
Good afternoon, President Millibar and members of the board. I'm Marcy Scott, HR Manager, presenting an informational item on the DCA's 2025 internship program. I'm sorry I cannot be with you in person, but I'm moving my daughter into her freshman dorm this afternoon.
Now we can see you're good now.
Good afternoon, President Millibar and members of the board. I'm Marcy Scott, HR Manager, presenting an informational item on the DCA's 2025 internship program. I'm sorry I cannot be with you in person, but I'm moving my daughter into her freshman dorm this afternoon. And speaking of college, the DCA, with our partner subcontract vendor, Schaubs and Associates, has just completed our 5th year of summer interns. And let me tell you a little bit about them. We had 4 interns this summer, all undergraduates, and all of them are going into their senior year this fall. They attend UC Davis and Sacramento State, with 2 studying civil engineer and 2 of the interns majoring in environmental studies. One new element this year was hosting other adjacent interns, 1 from DWR and 2 working with MWD for an informational session and for the final day of intern presentations. Each summer, we begin with a trip to the Sacramento Municipal Utility District Museum near Old Town Sacramento, which has an excellent exhibit on water resources. The interns learn about rain and snowfall patterns in California, and that these patterns don't necessarily match population patterns. To further help the students understand the big picture of California water resources, we provide a learning session using the map you see here, talking about each of the 7 major water conveyance systems in California. You will also note the different colors, which represent various levels of governmental agencies responsible for the infrastructure. This helps the students appreciate the complexity of ensuring water reliability for residential, agricultural, commercial, manufacturing, and other uses. Besides giving the students a better understanding of California-wide water resource management issues, the DCA internship program gives insight to the public and private sectors, some of the career path options in either of those tracks, access to technical experts in a variety of fields, and gives the interns a chance to experience work in a professional office setting. This experience assists the interns as they embark on their first career steps. We had one intern this summer decide she values field work and will look for job options providing those kinds of opportunities. We also put the interns to work in various capacities. In July, the interns presented the sustainability moment at our all-hands meeting, choosing the topic of sustainable transportation. The students are excited about the prospect of self-driving vehicles, such as big rigs, and talked about the strategies to reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Who knows what the future will look like in a few years, given the rapid advancement of generative AI. This slide provides an example of intern assignments, which ranged from technical assignments in their areas of study and included topics around sustainability in infrastructure projects, how geotechnical data informs design and engineering work, and how tunnel boring machines work. One of the most significant features of this program in terms of applicable information is the Career Talks series. In the top picture, we have Chief of Staff Claudia Rodriguez speaking to interns. The bottom photo includes Patrick Smith and Anil Dean from the engineering team discussing the tunnel and the tunnel boring machine. And on the right is the DCA's Health, Safety, and Security Manager, Greg Bowman, talking about his work. And sometimes these conversations are informal or formal. The interns also met with Graham and Josh and a variety of other DCA members, reviewing engineering, environmental, and program support work. We also allow the interns to get out of the office from time to time. The picture on the left is a field trip that John Hinton took the interns to at the Kleinfelder Laboratory to look at soil samples, and on the right, a trip to a DWR field office to view old reports. The interns also joined a day-long Delta tour, and the picture in the middle is a stop at Big Break Regional Shoreline Park with the map of the Delta stamped into the ground, and this was during the ranger presentation. The tour also stops at ISI, and the picture on the right is from the inside of a large fish screen, in case you haven't seen that perspective before. On the final day of the internship, the interns each give a talk about their summer experience and what was most meaningful to them. As mentioned earlier, we included DWR and MWD interns, which is the group on the left. You can see from the picture on the right, we had outstanding support from DCA, DWR, and MWD staff to observe and participate in the interns' final presentations. Lastly, many people contribute to the success of this internship program, beginning with you, the Board of Directors. We appreciate your time early in the internship to meet with the interns and provide your advice and guidance. Some of those tips turned up in the final presentations. As you can see from this long list, many folks at the DCA support the students and this program. The students enter this program having taken one, maybe two relevant courses, but leave with a greater understanding of water resource management and a wealth of information and advice that will inform the students' next steps. Thank you for your support of this program, and that concludes my presentation.
How long was their session? Was it 4 weeks, 6 weeks? How long was it?
8 weeks.
8 weeks?
8 weeks.
Wow.
Yep.
And we met them at the beginning, right? For lunch?
You did. That's correct.
Yeah, well, that
Yep.
went by pretty quick.
Scarily fast. Yes.
Yeah. Are there any questions from the board on this program? Robert?
Thanks, Mr. President. Maybe not as much a question, but just a comment. I think, as we kind of talk about the aging workforce, in our business and how complex, water really is, not just in California, but in the Southwest, certainly. I think, programs like this are, to me, truly invaluable to expose, the next potential generation of leaders who are going to be stepping in, after us. To make sure that the quality of life that we enjoy, is of course kind of sustained, going forward. And, just kind of thinking back, to my career, kind of wish I was exposed to this early on, so that I would have, maybe shortcut some of my learning during that process. But anyways, well done, and, definitely supportive of efforts going forward on this.
Thanks, Director Chang. Marcy's not here, unfortunately, to hear those words, but she puts a tremendous amount of work into this program, as does Claudia and a number of others. So, but I agree with you. It's a curriculum that would be hard to find elsewhere, the complexity of California water. So I really do think these students, whenever they enter the program, I think they tend to learn a lot in the time period they're here. So hopefully we help point some folks towards this industry.
Any other comments from the board or from?
We do have Catano who has her hand raised. President Millibar.
Please proceed.
Yeah, hi. Just had a quick question. Have you hired anybody out of the program at all?
We directly, well, as you know, Catano, we have vendors, the entire DCA is made up of contracted vendors. We have had some individuals who are part of the internship program take positions with some of our vendors, but not necessarily working on this program. So, but there have been others who've landed in regulatory agencies, some who've decided they really want to focus on the political policy side of water. So I think it's been a really good introduction into a very large, complex topic. And it seems that people kind of find the thing that they like and shoot off in a direction. So it does seem to be a large introduction to a very complex issue.
So I mentioned this because we have a workforce development team that's connecting the dots for our member agencies and us. So to the extent that we can connect to your program, that would be really good. And I can follow up with Marcy, because we are trying to hire folks for lower level positions coming out of these programs. So
that would be a great connection. Yeah, I agree, Catano. Let's follow up.
Any other questions? What about Miss Palmer? I think she attended the lunch, didn't she? Sarah Palmer?
That was last year. This year I didn't make it. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. No question, right?
No, just to comment in having been teaching at the university and in high school and a lot of university level, this sort of thing is so oh, it can be life changing. And when you see this, and so having these young people learn more about this is incredibly valuable. Even if they don't go into the fields themselves, I think the perspectives that are gained make them better citizens and potentially better politicians all around.
Thank you, Sarah. Any public comment on this item?
Just Ms. Palmer's.
We heard that one.
No other public comment requests.
Okay, very good. No other questions from the board. We'll move on to item 7C, our first senior leadership spotlight with James Morrison.
President Millibar, I'll just jump in and say we're very happy to have Jim join us and look forward to Jim sharing his thoughts with the board.
Well, thank you, President Millibar and directors, and it is a pleasure to be here. And it's been a good on-ramping so far, and I feel like I'm engaged in the program here and look forward to working with you all in the future. And to have a minute here to let you or introduce myself to you a little bit. So we'll start with just who am I as a person. Born and raised in the Great Lakes area. And my wife Susie and I have a gaggle of children and grandchildren between 30 and 45 that we all enjoy, and they're all enjoying their lives. In my spare time, I pull weeds and kill bugs. And when I can, ride my bicycle around the neighborhood. Master's Civil Engineering, Michigan Tech University in Michigan. In addition to professional employment, I've been engaged in industry in the broader sense for a long time. And I'll just mention some of that. The Deep Foundation Institute. I was president of that organization earlier on, and under my presidency, we expanded the DFI to an international program with chapters in Europe and India, the Middle East, and they've since expanded that further. So that was a real pleasure. I've served as president in the ASCE in section level in Cleveland section, and then again in Northwest Michigan section over the years. Currently running for a board position in the Dispute Resolution Board Foundation, DRBF, as well. And I'm a member of the Moles, which is a fraternity for heavy construction people. So very proud of that and remain active in industry. In my spare time as well, I've been able to contribute as an author and editor to a current book on precast tunnel segment design. That is I guess on the New York charts is going cardboard. I would say. In addition, I've contributed as an author and editor to 2 versions of the geotechnical baseline report guidelines that are in use today. So professionally, I've split my career, which has been a real joy to do, between growing up as a designer engineer with a company called Woodward Clyde, which had a very big presence in this area, growing from staff to principal, having the distinction at one point of being the youngest shareholder elected the shareholder position. And I found out later the lowest paid shareholder. Then joined the Kiewit organization as a contractor, where I came in as their corporate geotechnical manager, solving problems, and ended up creating and managing their engineering services group out of Omaha for 16 years. And then after my first retirement, I should say, went in with an international firm called ILF and managed their US operations until we sold that group, and have had an association with the STV company since that time. But for the last 3 years, I've been involved as a chief technical officer for the Gateway Development Commission in New York. I'll talk a little bit about some of the lessons learned from that and how it's applicable to this project. So in the underground world, I've had the good fortune to always have tunneling and underground in my portfolio of projects since I started, and still do to this day. But the experience has been across a very broad area of industry, from dams to highways to bridges to a lot of different industries. I've had the good fortune to work with. So my role with Delta Conveyance Authority here is as assistant. It's really to assist Graham in developing the infrastructure of the DCA to be ready to implement this project when it comes to fruition. And it's been a pleasure. We've got a good start, and that's really my mission here, is to assist Graham in making this ready to execute the program. Next slide. So I will take just a minute to talk about where I'm just coming off of, and that's the Gateway Development Commission, and how this is very relevant and parallel to what we're doing here. The Gateway Development Commission was an entity created jointly by the states of New York and New Jersey for the sole purpose of developing and executing one program, and that's improvements in a resiliency project to the Northeast Corridor. So instead of transporting water, this one was transporting people. So with two governors to deal with, and funding by the federal government, the Department of Transportation, receiving the largest funding for a single program that the Department of Transportation has ever put out, a package of loans and grants totaling 70% of the cost of the work. This is a program very similar to DCA, where the ultimate owner and operator of that facility is Amtrak, just like we have the DWR in this case. We also had partnering agencies in the New York area that were contributors and are contributors to the program, with the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey Transit. So the development of a single focused program is very consistent with where we're at here. Dealing with an asset that has a long life to the community is critical as well. So a lot of lessons came out of how we got the Gateway program up and going that will be very parallel here. So if we go to the next slide, I'll just carry some of the lessons learned along the way. And the pictures on the side have a little too much detail to capture, but what we were able to achieve with the Gateway program. And I was brought in, this was a program that was set up and started hiring direct employees shortly after I came on. I was number 5 on the team, and have grown that to over 300 people required just to execute this program. The Gateway program, $16 billion. We divided it into 10 biddable contracts at that point. Again, a parallel that we'll be looking at here is taking this overall program and how best to divide it, how best to and most efficiently to execute this work. It took focus, and we were able to go from a concept, which is about the level that we're at here with DCA is about the level that Gateway was when I came in. We had a concept, we had an engineering group that was developing that concept. We were just in the process of getting the permitting established, and we were able to take it from concept to full funding grant eligibility, which it has a level of complication. Hopefully we don't have to go through here in 18 months, which is somewhat unheard of. We're very proud that we could focus on putting that together. And some of the things that made that work in our governance agreements between the partners on the project, the states, Amtrak, we had clearly defined roles of who was responsible to bring what to the table. And it allowed streamlining of decision-making, which really helped implement that project in an efficient way. And I can't stress, that's one of the things we look at here is empower the right people in the right spot to make decisions and give them the authority and accountability to do that. Is very beneficial to actually executing the work. The other I'll present is really an overview philosophy that makes this all work. And that is that the time is money. Schedule is one of the most important things we can keep focused on to optimize, and I won't say minimize the schedule, but optimize the schedule to the best we can. And then as an agency, DCA's role really is to do that. It's to optimize the schedule, and its interface management is the other key. Everything we do and everything we touch is an interface between two entities, whether it's contracts or whether it's the government agencies or whatever. Our mission is to eliminate interfaces, smooth them, and get them out of the way quickly. That's if you had to summarize the mission of the DCA, it would be interface management. And bringing that focus into the program is what will make us successful. So I'll close with that and be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Well, I really appreciate your explanation, and it makes us feel better that someone like yourself has been there before and knows where the choke parts are and smooth them out, because that lessens the cost and personal problems, and you got to get rid of those. So I really appreciate your background, and I'm very pleased that you're on our team. And I guess that's my comment. Any other comments, Robert?
Yes, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. I have a couple of questions for you, Jim. So first of all, if I'm looking at Michigan, where is Omena?
Tip of your little finger.
Over here. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. So having, kind of set the bar pretty high, you got this project going from concept to full funding in 18 months. Are you going to try to break that record on this project?
I would like to, but I'm not sure that's entirely in my control. I will help as much as I can.
I guess maybe on a more serious note, and you're right, you started off with your number 5 and you went up to a full staffing of 300, probably pretty similar to, what we're kind of envisioning, for this project. And I think one of the sort of nagging, concerns I have in the back of my mind is, obviously it takes a really strong, focused team to pull in the right direction, all pull in the same direction to get this project going. Did you find a challenge in trying to get everybody motivated and on the same page? I know, we're kind of going through some organizational review right now. Was that a big challenge, or?
Well, it took some focus, and it had to do with getting the right people in the right spot. I was very fortunate that the leader of that organization and the other executive level people we brought in were all of the same mindset. So we worked together very much as one team. And that's one of the things I see here. I know Graham and I have started out, I think we'll work together and as one voice very well. And that's really what it took.
John, go ahead.
What was the governance structure of your project at Gateway?
There was a board of the commission that consisted of 2 representatives from the state of New Jersey, 2 representatives from the state of New York, and 1 representative from Amtrak representing the federal share. And that was the voting board.
Welcome.
Mr. President, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad you're here. Really happy to see all your experience coming to work with the team. On the Gateway, what you listed all the lessons learned. What was the challenge or the challenge, and how'd you overcome that?
The challenge. There's about 15 pages of flag on that one. Well, I mean, part of that challenge was, if I could summarize many, was to keep the focus of moving things forward. We had the luxury of a political alignment that happened that helped push that project forward. President Biden came in and President Schumer controlling the Senate. We had the resources at an executive level that wanted to see this done. And that helped us streamline a lot of issues ultimately. But nonetheless, getting the team on board, the right people, as I said, I mean, it takes a lot of people to run this and to find that many with the same mindset. It's an effort to get the right people in the right chairs. So those were probably the biggest hurdle. I mean, the technical stuff's fun. That wasn't work. It was the organizational people issues that are always the challenge.
People always are. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Morrison. Thank you, Mr.
Mark, have you got a comment or a question?
No, just welcome aboard. And I did find it interesting, the interface management or development. Based on what you know now, is there more or less of that type of activity with this project?
Well, it's going, again, it's going to be our biggest I say challenge, and what our main focus has to be. We'll be looking in the next year at how this project is packaged and executed. I mean, there's plans on that now, but how to most efficiently package and execute the work will be workshop. That's part of the start of that.
Any other comments? Anybody online?
President. Yes, Director Estromera.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Tom.
Jim, if you can navigate the waters between New York and New Jersey, we're in good shape. But thanks for coming aboard.
Oh,
We're looking forward to you. Thank you.
President Millibar, we do have a public comment request from alternate Director Palmer.
Oh, good. Sarah, go ahead.
Great. Well, welcome, James. I was really impressed with the idea, and I like that about having clean roles, streamlining, and empowerment. Those are really crucial. And I wish you luck on an 18-month thing. Welcome to California. And and here's a stupid question. Your first slide, your very first slide, you had a picture of a cityscape. And
Yes.
down in the lower right-hand corner was something, I don't know what the heck that was.
Well, that picture was from in front of my apartment, actually. And on the right-hand side, you might have been looking at a statue that exists in the Jersey City side. My
That
apartment
one, there it
in
is.
Jersey. Yeah,
What is that?
That is, it's a lady telling New York to be quiet, or with her finger. No,
Looks like a Disney
It
character.
does something like that. The big skull.
Well, and good discussion, and as you can tell, you're very welcome, part of our team. And if there's no other comments, no other public comments, then we'll conclude that part and move on to our second senior leadership spotlight with Jessyca Sheehan. Are you going to start, Grant?
I will. Thank you, President Millibar. And yeah, normally we don't do two of these or stack these up in a board meeting, but we are in a state of really transitioning some key individuals, and so did not want to wait to introduce these folks. And so, yeah, I'm happy to introduce Jessyca Sheehan. She's our new communications manager on the program, and her team is fully up and operational. So I hand it to Jessyca.
Great. Thank you, Graham. And hello, President Millibar and members of the board. I'm really excited to be here today and do have other members of our communications team here in the room as well. So I guess we'll dive right in, Claudia. Here we go. So who am I? So I grew up here on the Northern California coast, so a small town of Mendocino, for those of you who might be familiar with it. I only had 50 people in my graduating class. So it was a very small town, which then I wanted something completely different. So I went to Los Angeles, went to school at UCLA, where I majored in English and French and was determined to be a professor of comparative literature. But after teaching English in a small high school in southern France after college, I came back. I was applying for PhD programs and ended up taking a temp job here in Sacramento. And it was for a nonprofit coalition that was working on a lot of state and federal policy issues. And all of a sudden, I found I could use my English background in communications to really help work on and advance important issues of the day. So that's kind of how I fell into this line of work. I did not end up going back to school, but I've been here in Sacramento now for a little over 20 years. I have a 14-year-old son who just started Rio Americano High School here in Sacramento. We have a little French bulldog as well who fills out our home. I'm engaged locally with Girls on the Run here. I've been fortunate to be a coach for several seasons. I serve on the board of California Women in Energy. And then some of the things I like to do for fun. I'm a big runner, love to do half marathons in national parks. Actually just did one up in Mount Rainier. That's the picture up there in the corner. Love theater, whether that's Broadway or a local theater here in Sacramento. And traveling. Took my son last year to the Paris Olympics. He's a big skateboarder, and we were able to see the men's street skateboarding. So that was pretty fun for both of us. So professionally, starting with that nonprofit, and then spent a little bit of time at the California Chamber of Commerce here in Sacramento. And then really the last 2 decades, I've been on the consulting side. So strategic communications, public affairs, first for a global public affairs firm based in DC, but I was working out here in Sacramento. Near the end of my close to 10 years there, I was running the North America Energy and Clean Tech practice. Left that work for a smaller Bay Area based consulting agency where our main client was a large IOU here in California, working on a lot of wildfire and other infrastructure issues, which I'll talk more about here in a moment. And then currently I've been at Lucas Public Affairs here in Sacramento for the last 6.5 years. I'm an executive vice president and really leading our work in energy, water, and climate. One of the other things I love to do is lead trainings. So public speaking, presentation skills, media, message trainings is one of my favorite things to do. But some of my other experience, media relations, issues management, crisis communications, stakeholder community engagement, really kind of just all facets of a communications and public affairs campaign. So some of the projects I just wanted to highlight here, because this is some of the experience and expertise that I'm really excited to bring here to this project. And many of my team members have similar experience or complementary expertise that really rounds this out. But at LPA, we were a lead strategic partner on the state Save Our Water campaign, working really closely with the Department of Water Resources, Natural Resources, the governor's office. LPA, we were overseeing earned media for that program, and then working really closely with the water agencies across the state, as well as the business community, not only on media, but local events, other sponsorship and partnership opportunities. Also have done work to stand up the California Water Resilience Initiative. It is a joint corporate and nonprofit. Pacific Institute is part of that. And it's really about how corporate funding can help augment work that's going on in the state and align with the governor's water supply strategy. And then, as I mentioned, spent 4 dedicated years, but sometime before that too, at my earlier firm, really working on big statewide campaigns around gas pipeline safety, around electric transmission, vegetation management, and then wildfire safety, including staffing the first public safety power shutoff event here in Northern California. So a lot of messaging work, a lot of work with community as part of that, both local government as well as local communities, local homeowners associations, really working closely with various program representatives and C-suite, kind of throughout the company on, how to message and work through those programs. And then the last one I just wanted to note, and this was a little bit earlier in my career, but did a lot of work on groundwater investigation and cleanup projects, working with regulatory agencies and again, communities, media on the communications around those. It was both here in California as well as in some other states too across the country for that. And then here at DCA, so I stepped in July 1st officially to the communications manager role to oversee both internal and external communications across all of the channels, digital, print, social, and really it's about making sure our communications, our messaging, our materials are really in alignment with where DCA is, the goals and objectives of the authority, and really reflect the moment we're in with the project. And you'll see the photos here. We had the opportunity, some of our team members, to go out and tour the project in a site in June, which was fantastic. So I would encourage anyone who hasn't to definitely take advantage of that opportunity. It was a great way to get a better feel for what's being planned and really excited us about the opportunity to be here. So a little bit later on, I know in the agenda, I'll be back up here to talk about what we have been able to do since jumping on board and where we're headed, but I'll stop there in terms of my background for questions or comments. Thank you again.
Well, I was impressed by your experience from the corporate level all the way down to the landowner, because we're dealing with that in this project. It's the whole spectrum of people, and that kind of experience is very valuable in this project. And your connections with DWR is very important. And so I'm again, very impressed with your background, and I'm glad that you're going to help us. I think you'll be able to do us a real good job. So those are my comments. Any other
Thank you.
questions, John?
Just welcome.
Thank you.
I'll add, thank you, Sheehan. You jumped right in and doing a great job. I mean, just yesterday was a show of that, but I know there's a lot of work taking place, and already some of the way things are looking. Really appreciate your work and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
No, we're just glad to have you on board. And I know communication is very important. Many of us sit on boards, and I report to several, and the older I get, the more I realize how important communication, articulating the problem and solutions and all that. So anyway, glad to have you on board.
Thank you.
Hi, Jessyca. Nice to meet a UCLA graduate as well.
Bruins.
Absolutely. So no, I completely agree with what Mark just said. I was on a recent 2-week tour of another country.
Mhm.
And during the tour, I had the fortune of sitting close to a few fellow Californians of all places, from all places. And they asked me what I did. And I said, well, I take care of imported water for Coachella Valley Water District. And they said, oh, are you all kind of involved in this, water grab, from Northern California? And so that launched maybe like a 2-hour dinner discussion. So I welcome, some communications tips on how to, change the mindset and, get into the realm of reality. And again, I think, as technical people, we understand the value of it, but, once the sentiments are there, it's sort of hard to overcome. So
Yeah.
welcome.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Tony, anything? Sarah?
Sure, welcome Jessyca from Cal grad, and my wife's UCLA nursing from UCLA, so we know we're in good hands. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Okay. Any public comments?
Sarah's on.
Yep, alternate Director Palmer.
Okay. Go ahead, Sarah.
Of course I am. Anyway, I just wanted to say, I thank you for your comment about getting people to look at something past their initial responses, just locally in our local newspaper, which is a lovely newspaper, but they're using Friends of the River as their main information source about the Delta, and their main information source about the Delta conveyance. And again, the paper reiterated their whole thing about, well, Friends of the River says that the estuary is going to be drained by the tunnel. So it's a big slope to climb up to overcome some of this.
Yeah, and I think the more proactive we can be in our communications, and that's some of what we're going to talk about, later on as well, is going to be important, right? And some of it's repetition as well, right? Just have to get out there and continue to hit the drumbeat, deliver a consistent message, and, make sure we're working with the right, folks to deliver that message as well.
Sounds good.
All right.
Everybody got their questions answered. We're very happy to have you with us.
Thank you.
And I think we'll move on then. No more questions. We'll move on. We're gonna highlight five contracts.
That's correct, President Millibar. So Chief Contracting Officer Adrian Brown is going to step up here and take over. But just as a reminder, we executed 3 in June for more urgent services. This is now the balance of those contracts that we're asking the board permission to execute. We are still working through, they cover a variety of different service types. You're going to hear from Adrian, strategic support services, human resources support, as well as facilitation. So this creates a really important pool of vendors that we can tap into that are disconnected and independent from our main workforce of vendors. And so this is really a key set of resources that we're excited to bring on. And we're already getting a tremendous amount of value now through these vehicles. And so I look forward to engaging these further. But, I will let Adrian take over here if that's okay, President Millibar. He's got a presentation to cover them all, and then
Okay.
each one will be an independent action, but he's got one presentation to update you all.
Very good. Thank you. Go ahead. Proceed.
Good afternoon, President Millibar and DCA board members. Thank you for your time today. So the DCA conducted a request for qualifications for on-call executive strategic support services. We listed 4 categories. The 4 categories are presented before you: executive strategic support services, facilitation services, deputy executive director services. You met Jim, and human resource support services. Next slide, please. The DCA issued the RFQ in March 17th. We gave the vendors an opportunity to submit questions. The due date was March 28th. The due date for the statement of qualifications from the vendors was April the 14th. Evaluations of the SOQs was initiated on April the 22nd and lasted all the way through May the 7th. The proposals will ranked and move to a short list as at the completion of the qualifications review on May the 7th. Again, the selection criteria is listed before you. The DCA reviewed firm performance and experience, personnel performance and experience, technical understanding. The DCA received 9 response or SOQs from the 9 firms that are listed before you, a number of which are local firms. Next slide. The selection criteria is also listed for you. The evaluation team consisted of DCA Executive Director Graham Bradner, DWR's Environmental Manager Carolyn Buckman, Zone 7 Water Agency General Manager Valerie Pryor, DCA's Chief of Staff and Board Clerk Claudia Rodriguez, and DCA's General Counsel Josh Nelson. At this time, we are making the recommendation for 5 firms, the names of which are listed here: Schnabel Engineering, National Constructors, Leicester National, Strategic Value Solutions, Municipal Resource Group, and their categories are listed next to their names. Next slide, please. So a little bit more in-depth listing of each of the categories that we're asking to award today, of which there are 3. One of them is the Strategic Support Services. Next slide. Facilitation Services. And for Human Resource Support Services. Next slide. So of the 5 contracts, the first 3, staff is recommending awarding to Schnabel Engineering a 5-year agreement with the term starting on August of today through August 20th of 2030. The contracts include option to extend the contracts at the discretion of the DCA. The award for Schnabel would be $1 million. For National Constructors, it would be for strategic support services, same length of term. Their contract value is at $750,000, the same option clause. The next vendor is Leicester National. We're asking for them to provide strategic support and facilitation services for the same term of 5 years with a value of $500,000 with the same option clause to extend. The next 2 vendors are Strategic Value Solutions. We would like to award a contract to them for facilitation services for 5 years in the amount of $500,000 with the same option clause to extend. We'd also like to award a contract to Municipal Resource Group for Human Resource Support Services for the term of 5 years with at $2.5 million, the same optional extension clause. Next slide, please. This slide contains a basic summary of the 5 contract awards that DCA staff is recommending for you to award today. Next slide. In your board packet, there are 5 board memos that contain more information that describe the full level of services that each of the consultants would be providing and the values and the length of contract term. I'm ready for any questions that you may have.
How do you want to proceed? One at a time, or?
I think first, if there's any questions, if we could address those now, President Millibar, and then once having gone through those questions, if the board is ready to proceed, we would go one at a time through the items and request the board's authorization through a vote.
Okay.
Oh, you can cancel me. Know that. A procedural question, though. If we're gonna move them individually, shouldn't we take the questions for each contract, not lump, but for each contract? Josh? What do you-
That's really up to the board, but I think to your point, Director Luna, if you have a question that's specific to one vendor, we could wait until that vendor's contract's under consideration. However, if you have a general question about the process or the overall, perhaps we could consider those now.
So we had, was there 4, Graham, Josh, Claudia, Carrie Buckman and
Valerie.
Pardon? Okay, and you all made recommendations because you had multiple firms and you've gone through the detail. I mean, the reason I'm asking is we can't get into the contract. We don't know, we don't know them. We weren't involved. And so if you're asking us to approve them, then we're relying on your expertise through your process, recommending these firms.
That's correct. President Millibar and the panel you described participated in evaluating all the submissions, looking at the performance and experience and qualifications of each of the firms relative to the categories submitted. We made our decisions as a group and upon consensus landed on the recommendations that have been put forward to the board. According to our procurement policy, because of the scale of these awards, requires board authorization to adopt, but this is based on staff's recommendation. So yes, we've reviewed and are putting forward these recommendations for board's consideration.
Okay, does anybody on the board have any detailed questions or about this process? Go ahead.
Mr. Brown, no, I appreciate the, sort of summary, slides. I think maybe kind of following up on President Millibar's question, and again, I think the panel, certainly is qualified, and I have, utmost trust in the judgment. Maybe my question, is kind of a higher level because I see multiple agencies being recommended, for same sort of services. And maybe I just don't fully understand, the strategic support services. I know you kind of outlined it in, your board letters and then also in your presentation. But if I could just summarize, make sure I'm on the same page. So the strategic support services is really to kind of provide, perhaps some oversight in terms of, is the DCA kind of going down the path that, we're kind of envisioning is supposed to, because I guess to my knowledge, the strategic plan process hasn't, unless we've, crafted a strategic plan, I haven't seen it. So I guess I'm just trying to figure out, what's the order here.
So Director Chang, the pool of contracts that we've created are intended to support the executive team, hence the panel that you heard reflected the executive team. The scope of, for instance, strategic support services includes advice and counsel on topics such as risk, contracting, operational systems within the organization. So, we've been doing a lot of work to update and rethink how the organization will function into the future. Engineering, constructability related topics. So through these vehicles, we can get a pretty wide range of support services, including independent reviews of work that we're doing. So it's a way to get an independent analysis, challenge some of the work that we're doing in some areas through entities that are completely disconnected from those that are delivering them. So the point is to provide independent review. A lot of experience is able to be tapped into through these vehicles and contracts, and provide us with a very broad range of capabilities that can serve those types of purposes. But you can see by the capacities that are being authorized, they're not intended to be full-time services for the most part, with the exception of the deputy executive director. These are on-call services that we tap into, bring in for specific purposes that we identify. The scope and budget for those specific activities are identified through task orders. So the award of these not to exceed amount contracts does not guarantee work. It just provides a vehicle by which we can negotiate a scope of work and execute a task order to get something done. So it just broadens the capabilities that we as the executive team may need in a variety of different circumstances. HR support is very focused, as the name would imply. Right now, we have an HR manager. Our HR manager role is contracted through Metropolitan Water District through an interagency agreement. But there's a lot of just generalized kind of support work that's needed to support that role, especially as we consider the growth that we have ahead and transitioning into a delivery phase. There's quite a bit to be addressed on the HR side of things. And then the facilitation services, there are a couple of awards there that are identified for facilitation services, but they have very different emphasis. So we've actually used Luster National a couple of years ago with some of our quality work, and they helped to review our quality program and then facilitate a workshop around improving our quality. So they kind of can provide both of those as it suits the topic. Strategic Value Solutions is a well-known and kind of bread and butter facilitation entity. They really can deal with a variety of conditions. And then from our awards in June, Project Neutral also focusing on facilitation, but a different type. Their background is really around dispute resolution, large infrastructure projects, a lot of engineering and constructability related topics. So theirs is very focused on large infrastructure. So each of these contracts brings a unique set of skills, a unique firm or collaboration of firms that can augment our capabilities. So although the categories that we're talking about, there may be multiple awards, each of the firms brings unique and independent skills to that category.
Well, that really helps us as a board because it's, from what I understand, you were describing kind of a check and balance function of these firms, which we would enjoy to have. So based on that, I would feel comfortable to go ahead and approve them one at a time and see what the board approves them, then
Okay.
we'll go forward.
Thank you, President. I do see alternate director Palmer so are we taking public comment, or Director Weed?
I had a brief comment. We have 3 contracts with the generic title of Executive Strategic Support Services. And that really is the limit of what is being presented to us. I'd be interested at your convenience to be given some of the strengths of each of those contractors, which you said are unique and helpful. I noticed there's a different dollar amount associated with each of the contracts. So again, it would be helpful to me to know what their strengths of each of these 3 new contractors are bringing on.
Sure. So maybe if we could, Claudia, could we go back into Adrian's presentation and first, just to start that, there was a summary of each category, and that would be a good place to start. And then I can respond, Director Weed, to your question.
Oh,
I'm just waiting for Claudia to get back to, and then roll back, please, to the category descriptions, Claudia.
okay.
There we go. So the overall description of this category, and this is consistent with the request for qualifications that we issued back in the dates that Adrian described. So the first bullet describes agency and project strategic planning. And so as you continue to look here, this is related to topics of organizational growth and transition, governance, funding management, finance, contracts, and risks. Services may also include development, review, and refinement, DCA strategic plans. So the comment earlier, I believe, Director Chang, around status of strategic plans. So this provides some professional insight and capability with respect to developing and reviewing strategic plans, program management plans, other high-level strategic documents. Second category, organizational planning and reviews. So we are in a state of transition with a lot of work to do in terms of getting ourselves into position for delivery and bringing on specific emphasis to that regard. So now, Claudia, if you would please go to the summary of which contracts are receiving which awards. I think maybe it was the bullet prior to this, Adrian, was it a slide prior to this that had each of the categories and each vendor? Right here we go. So the first, so you see there are three associated with Executive Strategic Support Services, Schnabel Engineering, National Constructors, and Luster National. So first, I'll just start with Schnabel Engineering. They bring a lot of owner side engineering background. Many of the folks involved in that firm have been involved in very large scale tunnel infrastructure, heavy civil, deep underground work. So they also have a very strong capability in the fields of risk and schedule development. So those are key items for us in terms of planning over the next couple of years. So the Schnabel engineering contract is really targeted towards those subject areas, the focus of engineering, construction related, owner side risk, and to a degree contracting and delivery review. National Constructors is really focused on constructability review. There's a number of very seasoned individuals within that contract to provide a tremendous amount of hands-on heavy civil construction. So the combination of Schnabel and National Constructors very well could provide a highly capable independent review team who's able to look at the design elements that we're working on, consider the schedule that we're developing, and just continue to challenge and ensure that the underlying assumptions are valid and that there's good justification for the engineering elements that are being proposed and the schedule by which we're basing that. Luster National, very different. Their experience is more on the organizational side. We've used them in the past for quality reviews. So they really kind of focus on the program side, helping us work and advance our internal systems. That's really their emphasis. And so they're less so on the independent review, engineering, constructability. That's really not their specialty. They're more focused on organizational review type focus. So those are the three contracts that are being considered, being requested by the board for the executive strategic support. I think I already addressed the facilitation differences between Luster National and Strategic Value Solutions. And then Municipal Resource Group is the only firm that's being requested to provide HR support services.
Does that,
Are you looking for a motion? Because
yeah.
I'm ready.
well,
Yeah,
Well, we get it one at a time.
yeah, I'll do the first one. I move to authorize the executive director to negotiate and execute a professional service agreement with Schnabel Engineering West to provide strategic support services to be directed by the executive director and staff, not to exceed $1 million, and to issue task orders when needed to direct the progress of work expenditures consistent with board adopted budgets.
We have a second.
I can second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. We need to poll the board.
President Millibar,
Aye.
alternate director Gilkey, Director Luna,
Aye.
Director Estromera,
Aye.
Director Chang,
Aye.
alternate director Lamoureux, I'll circle back, Director Weed,
Aye.
alternate director Lamoureux, he's connecting. It looks like we might have lost him.
Thanks, Claudia. We will need to wait until he reconnects as that was a teleconference location. While we're doing that, can you just confirm we didn't receive a public comment request for this item?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Is that one approved?
Not yet. One moment. Looks like alternate director Lamoureux is connecting audio. I'm not sure when we lost him. President Millibar, alternate director Palmer did have her hand up earlier in the discussion.
Yes, I think.
Ms. Palmer, did you want to provide a comment?
My comment basically was answered after Director Weed asked a question because I was interested in comparing Schnabel with National, and I think you covered that, so thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
And
Are
just
we
confirming for
still-
the record, Director Law Monroe heard the discussion and just lost connection right before the vote.
It appears that we're still having issues with his connectivity.
Well, I mean, we got 6 ayes out of 7. Won't that approve it?
That will approve it. but
So yeah, President Milbar, that absolutely does approve the item. Unfortunately, Director Law Monroe's location is a teleconference location for this meeting. And so under the Brown Act, we need to make sure that all of those locations remain in contact with the board meeting. So we just need to pause until he's able to reestablish connection. I apologize.
Can we move on to the next and then come back to this one?
We cannot, we would not be able to move on to another item until we reestablish connection with that location.
So it looks like we are live, Mr. Lamoureux. Alternate Director Lamoureux, can you hear me?
Maybe he should phone in.
President Milbar, should we take a 5-minute recess to allow us some time to establish reconnection? Apologize for the inconvenience.
What if we can't connect with him? What do? Do we stop the whole meeting?
Potentially we would have to, but that's why, we'll work as quickly as we can to establish reconnection, even if it's just audio only.
Okay, thank you.
Director Lamoureux, we're just doing a test to see if you can hear us.
Yes, the main audio system, for some reason failed, so I'm calling in on my phone. Can you hear me?
We can. Josh, is that okay?
Yes, it is. It's a teleconference meeting, and so audio only is okay. So we can move forward whenever the board's ready.
Sorry about that.
And Director Lamoureux, just for your information, we're currently on item 7E. We're just calling the roll to approve the Schnabel agreement. When the president reconvenes the meeting, we'll be requesting your vote on the item. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
And just confirming, Director Sabera, you're still with us?
Yes.
Great. All right, we can proceed. So where we were was item 7E for the Schnabel agreement. Alternate Director Lamoureux, we are waiting just for your vote.
Yes.
All right. Resolution passes.
Okay. No public comment on this?
Confirming we have not received public comment requests for this item.
Okay, so we're completed on item 7E, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, we'll move on to 7F with National Constructors. Do we have a motion? Or should I make a motion? I'll make a motion to consider
No, go ahead. I'll second.
passing resolution authorizing an executive support services agreement to provide strategic support services to national constructors as outlined by staff.
Second.
We
Okay,
have a motion and a second.
we do. You as a first and Director Luna as a second.
Yeah,
Calling the roll call. President Millibar,
aye.
alternate Director Gilkey,
Aye.
Director Luna,
Yes.
Director Stromera,
Aye.
Director Chang,
Aye.
alternate Director Lamoureux,
Yes.
Director Weed.
Aye.
All right, resolution passes. Thank you.
And just confirming no public comment requests on that item as well.
That is correct.
Seven G. Do I have a motion by another director?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move that we consider passing resolution authorizing an executive support services agreement to provide strategic support services and facilitation support services to Luster National Incorporated, consistent with the staff's recommendation.
Do we have a second? Director Weed seconded it,
All right,
so
I
roll
will
call.
call the roll call. President Millibar,
Aye.
alternate Director Gilkey, Director Luna,
Aye.
Director Stromera,
Aye.
Director Chang,
Aye.
alternate Director Lamoureux,
Yes.
Director Weed.
Aye.
Okay, resolution passes.
And
No.
confirming no public comment requests as well.
Confirming.
Okay, very good. We'll move on to item 7H. Do I have Robert, you need to make a motion.
Well, there's no pressure, sir. Yes, I'll be happy to make the motion to pass a resolution authorizing executive support services agreement to provide facilitation support service to strategic value solutions as recommended by staff.
I'll second that.
I'll second that.
Okay, give it to Tony.
I believe that was alternate Director Lamoureux.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, calling the roll. President Millibar.
Aye.
Alternate Director Gilkey. Director Luna,
Aye.
Director Stromera,
Aye.
Director Chang,
Aye.
alternate Director Lamoureux,
Yes.
and Director Weed.
Aye.
Also confirming we have not received any public comment requests for this item. Resolution has passed.
Okay, we'll move on to item 7I. And it's Mark's turn to make a mo- Yeah, 2.5.
Okay. And this is for
Municipal
municipal
Resource Group.
resource groups. I move that we authorize the resolution to engage Municipal Resources Group for 2.5 million.
Do we have a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
That was Tony that time.
Yes.
President Millibar,
Aye.
alternate Director Gilkey,
Aye.
Director Luna,
Aye.
Director Stamera,
Aye.
Director Chang,
Aye.
alternate Director Lamoureux,
Yes.
Director Weed. Confirming we do not have any public requests for this item, and with that, resolution passes.
Okay. Graham on 7J.
Thank you, President Millibar. So I'll start out and then I'll ask Josh to step in and talk a little bit about the maybe procedural aspects of this item. But I first wanted to just set this up a little bit. So this is a policy, the advocacy policy. This is a policy, and I'm looking at the staff report at this point, President Millibar. We've got things crafted up here in a way that I think, I'd like to just read a little bit from. So this policy would formalize the DCA's historic practice for taking positions on legislative and regulatory proposals. Although generally not considered an advocate for the DCP, we have not typically considered that a role for the DCA. We are the implementation arm of the public water agencies who will decide to, their participation and pursuit of this project. But the DCA can take positions on proposals when doing so does not conflict with the interests or policies advanced by each of our member agencies that form the JPA. So generally in the past, positions on proposals have been approved by the board of directors. And so to guide consideration of any individual proposals, staff is proposing here that the board approve policy guidance. So that would be part of this process, and Josh can elaborate here. If approved, then the staff would have the board review and consider adjustments to that guidance on an annual basis. So this would allow for, first of all, the establishment of the way we've been behaving historically into a policy where from time to time, if there are actions that improve the delivery of the project, improve the cost, the schedule, those are elements that we at the DCA feel like we should speak up in support of. And then the policy would also allow for the delegation of any response to those proposals at the discretion of the board. And I think that's a discussion item here that we're teeing up. Josh, would you like to add?
Thanks, Graham. Yeah, just on process for the item, there are 3 potential actions before the board. The first would be whether you would like to approve the draft policy as may be amended. The second would be to adopt policy guidance, which would help inform consideration of individual proposals as they move forward. That guidance we anticipate would be updated on an annual basis. This would be interim guidance. And the guidance that's been proposed by staff is at the bottom of the first page of the staff report. And if we could go back to perfect, it's right there at the bottom of the screen. And then the last item before you would be the potential for the board to consider delegating authority to someone to take positions on behalf of the DCA under the policy and informed by the guidance that you might provide in between board meetings. If the board declines to provide that delegation, then the DCA's position on any individual proposal would be approved by the board at an agendized meeting. Those actions can be taken in a single motion, but the approval of the policy and the delegation would be by the resolution, and the guidance would be by motion. Thank you.
Do we have choices there?
Yes. So the first choice is just whether you'd like to move forward with the advocacy policy, sort of as Graham mentioned, to formalize our historic practice and how to consider these situations. If you would like to move forward with the advocacy policy, then we would ask that the board consider approving guidance that would help us inform considerations of proposals as they move forward. And we've proposed some draft guidance for your consideration at the bottom of the staff report, and it's on the screen. And then the third thing for you to consider is whether you would like to delegate authority for someone to take positions on proposals outside of a board meeting. And absent that delegation, the DCA's official position on any proposal would have to be approved by the board at a future board
So
meeting.
we could, if we were comfortable, if the board was comfortable, to assign that task to Graham.
That's correct. It could be, so in the staff report, we identified it could be the executive director, it could be the board legislative liaison, it could be board officers. It's really up to the board as to who you think is the appropriate person or persons.
Well, myself, I would delegate it to Graham. And anybody of the board make a comment for or against or whatever, but I would be comfortable doing that. What do you think, Sam?
Okay. The delegation of the drafting, no problem, but I would ask that before we issue any policy by an individual, that it be reviewed by the chair of this board. And the chair has the ability to bring it to the entire board if he feels it's of such a nature that it required more board approval. Well, delegations are fine, and I encourage that practice of being able to draft something, but before it's sent out, the board president, at least as an individual, given the timing issue, should have the ability to review and comment and make a determination and have reviewing authority and the ability to decide whether the issue needs to be brought to the whole board or not. Thank you.
That's makes logical sense.
Yeah, if I may
Go
also comment on this, I think what we're trying to accomplish with this is not to relinquish the power of the board. What we're saying is we've outlined the things that, you know, we should taking positions on everything that relates to the Delta conveyance that's already established that a priority to us. And sometimes, you know, we need to move fairly quick.
Yes.
And obviously, we all understand that, you know, getting a board meeting sometimes takes time.
Yeah.
That may take 3 days, that may take a week. And, you know, being able to, especially in the next 2 weeks, being able to give the authority to the executive director to make that decision, you know, with full confidence that, you know, he has the best interest. And so for me, I think if it requires, it does, I think it's great, what Director Weed is suggesting. I'm just saying that, you know, I would also feel comfortable with just giving that, delegating that authority to the executive director, because I have full confidence that, you know, he can make the choices that are within our guardrails of what we can do. I think the other issue is, you know, if it's a letter that needs to go out, absolutely, I think the chair should be the one that signs it. But how we engage in these issues, I just want us to be nimble enough that the executive director feels that this is something we need to move forward immediately, then that it's okay. Full confidence in our executive director to make that decision.
I agree with that. And I think Graham would know if he wants to be more comfortable with something, that he could bring it up to the chair.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Robert?
Yes, sir. And maybe I'll just back up a little bit. First of all, you know, appreciate, you know, this issue being surfaced and being formalized. I think we've kind of talked about this, you know, sort of informally. And there will be instances from time to time that, you know, out of necessity, I think, you know, this body will be, you know, requested, you know, to perhaps weigh in on an issue. So I don't see this as being kind of a normal course of business, but, you know, where it's applicable. Now, kind of going back to the issue of, you know, what Director Weed and Director Luna, you know, have been kind of putting positions out on. I do have full confidence in our executive director to, you know, make that critical judgment. You know, that the support piece, you know, should that be needed. But also, you know, at that time, I do think that, you know, when it's convenient and there's time to kind of share this information, you know, with the board president, you know, I think that's a decision the executive director, you know, should be able to make. I think that also gives, you know, a little bit of coverage on that decision making, you know, on the part of the executive director. So that was my thinking.
you care to comment on that?
No, I have confidence in the executive director could make that decision and when appropriate, you run it by the president. So I'm good with that.
Go ahead.
I would suggest that anything in writing would certainly go past the board president because it becomes a board policy, and the board policy is so broad that and we are the governing board ultimately responsible for it. So having the board president review written communications that are related to policy, I think would be appropriate.
Okay, well, I would like to make a motion that encompasses people's comments, if that is appropriate. What do you think, Graham or Josh?
I think it's a question for Josh, because I think the easiest way to do this is with one motion, but we need to collect revisions, right? Is that what we need to do here? And so I think we need to, we've heard you. And I think the only concept you haven't talked about are the 3 bullets at the bottom of this board memo. And so these are the priorities that I believe are established and consistent across all of the water agencies. This would provide the board's direction to me to allow me to know that I can respond to proposals in a way that's consistent with the board's objectives. So if the board is good with these bullets, then we move on to the next topic, which is the topic of the policy itself. And it sounds like the board is in support of having this policy. And then it becomes the words of the delegation, which are included in the policy. And right now, the words allow for that delegation in whatever form the board would like to take. And it sounds like the board is formulating that position. So Josh, does it need to be restated what that delegation authority is, just so that it's clear?
Yes, so the draft motion based on a delegation to the executive director be in section 2 of the resolution, where it has a place for name and title. That would now read to the executive director. And if there was a proposed motion for the board to consider, it would be to approve the resolution adopting the advocacy policy with the change that the executive director will be identified in section 2, and to adopt the policy guidance, which is set forth in the staff report.
So Josh, do we need to acknowledge, I think there was a discussion about the role of the board chair and whether it's written or judgment within the judgment of the executive director. I mean, I could see the legislative liaison also being an option. And so,
so that would be additional guidance we would need. My attempt to distill the conversation was that the delegation was to the executive director with an understanding that he would be coordinating with the chair. If you would like to make that a condition of the delegation, we could add language to that effect in the resolution.
Since this was my suggestion, no problem with the executive director, Mr. Graham, Mr. Padner, expressing the policy of the board. And because other people will be asking him a lot of questions and has that role. But once you put that policy in writing, it takes a life of its own at times. And they're just to protect the staff in particular. It's a good governance to have the board or the representative of the board make a concurrence in that release. Thank you.
Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to express my support for the policy. No one speaks for the board except the board. So I think it's pretty clear that if we write letters on behalf of the board, or we take positions on behalf of the board, that the chair is going to be involved and is going to sign letters. This is just if we have to concur, express, communicate what our position might be on some legislative bill that's coming up or something like that we've already discussed or support. And so I think it's appropriate to just approve the policy as it is, with the executive director knowing who should speak besides him. And like I say, there's no question that it's the board president that acts on behalf of the board. So if there's any letter to be sent, any communications on behalf of the board or, you know, or the organization itself, obviously the board president is going to sign it. So I don't see any need to do anything else other than to adopt the policy and also move as expressed by council to add the director in under paragraph 2 and adopt it as that.
Yeah, and thank you, Director Estremera. So, you know, with that, the delegation to the executive director, you know, you can add language to the resolution clarifying that letters of support and those sort of things would be signed by the president, or we can simply take that as direction. If there's delegation to the executive director with the understanding that would be the case. So would need some, you know, direction from the board as to your preference. Are you comfortable with just a delegation to the executive director with the understanding that, you know, of course, the board will be, board president would be consulted and would sign letters on behalf of the board? Or would you like to add that as a condition of the delegation itself in the resolution?
Well, it seems like correspondence probably should be communicated before we send a letter and sign it as Director Reed specified. So I don't think that will hold up anything, and it'll reinforce the strength of the board. That's your point, right?
Yes, and for first clarification,
My
suggestion is that the letters can be signed by the executive. It should be.
So President Millibar, I'm content with the policy. I understand the requirements of the board and will consult with the board chair prior to any written support that would be issued, you know, on the from the perspective of the DCA. So I'm comfortable with the policy as written. The delegation, should the board choose to offer it to the executive director, recognizing any written communications need to be first confirmed with the board president before anything goes out the door.
I'll move that. If you're looking for a motion.
Oh, I already moved it, right?
Oh, sorry. Okay. So I'll second it.
There you go.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
President Millibar, we do have a public comment request from alternate director Palmer.
Okay, please.
Yeah, and also if I could just make sure, because I noticed a couple of times we've gone for a vote before calling for public comment, which I didn't have any public comment, or I would have said something. But I think we have to have public comment before something goes to a vote. I am in favor of this. The policy sounds good. I love your 3 points. I do think it needs to be a little bit clearer that in this policy that anything written has to be signed by the president of the board.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Have you got enough direction, Josh?
So we have direction. I think alternate director Palmer is proposing a potential modification to the policy to make clear what was the direction that we verbally received. So if the board's comfortable with verbal direction, we're good.
We have a motion, right? We have a
Exactly,
motion.
Director Estremera. So if we're good to move forward, then we'll just move on to a vote. Alternatively, if the board would like to consider an amendment, we would need to modify the motion or have it fail and then a new motion to be made.
So what's the motion right now?
The motion as is would be to move forward with the policy as written, the guidance as indicated in the staff report, and the resolution as presented in your packet with the modification that in section 2, the delegation would be made to the executive director. That's what would be written. However, outside of the motion, the board has made it very clear that they would expect that anything that's written that goes out on behalf of the DCA is coordinated with the president, and as appropriate, letters would be signed by the president.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm comfortable with that motion. We have a motion and a second as described by Josh. So,
Also confirming we have not received any other public comment requests.
okay, thank you. So let's do a roll call.
Okay, President Millibar,
Aye.
alternate director Gilkey.
Aye.
Director Luna,
Aye.
Director Estromera,
Aye.
Director Chang,
Aye.
alternate director Lamoureux,
Yes.
and Director Weed.
Aye.
Okay, resolution passes.
Okay, very good. So we've completed item 7. We'll move on to reports and announcements. Item 8. A is the general counsel's report. Josh.
President Millibar also confirming that we have not received public comment requests for the staff reports that will be given in section 8.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Rodriguez. And I have no verbal report this afternoon. Thank you.
Okay, treasurer's report. Do we have a?
Thank
report?
you. Thank you. This is Katano Kasaine. This report is for June, July. So the numbers, sorry, ending June 30th, 2025. So it's actually May, June. Our beginning balance was a little over $980,000. We ended up close to $815,000 end of June. And I have all the reports attached for your view. And if you have any questions, I am happy to answer. The other item that we do analyze, but really leave it to Graham and his team to balance, is our budget versus actuals. We show at the end of June that we were under budget by $13.5 million. And I think he just spoke to that they're still closing their year. So that number might change. So we'll give you that information, but we really focus on his report to show us where he closes the year. So that's the report. I have, as I said, attachments. If you have any questions, happy to answer any question.
Questions on the treasurer's report?
President Millibar, I'll just remind the board that, and thank you to the treasurer for that summary. We do use a different accounting basis only because we're tracking things in real time much more closely to when they're incurred, whereas the treasurer monitors the cash balance in the account. So there tends to be a bit of a, I wouldn't call it a disconnect. It's just a different accounting basis.
Timing difference.
Yeah, it's a timing difference. And so they tend to have numbers that kind of spread over multiple fiscal years a little bit, only because the timing associated with the cash flow. But we understand that situation, and then it's something we just manage our way through and reconcile annually.
Okay.
Yeah, annually when we do our financials, all of it is reconciled. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to item C, DCP Communications Report.
Great. Thank you, President Millibar, and hello again, members of the board. So as we mentioned earlier, our team officially joined July 1st. We've been spending a lot of time onboarding, taking a look at all of the different materials and messaging. There's a lot of really great information and content. And what we're really looking to do is not recreate the wheel, but refresh, maybe look at how we can package things a little bit differently, make sure our language and communications are accessible to the audiences that we're communicating with. And as we mentioned earlier, taking another look at the brand, like you saw with the refreshed board report, and making sure that what we're doing really comes across as clear, modern, professional, and consistent across various channels.
I appreciate that. Have you experienced, misunderstandings from different parts of the community around the DCP
I think there's a lot of clarifying we can do, and I think some of it, it just goes back to there's so much information, but how do we maybe start to do it in more, bite-sized ways and make sure we're really, honing in on the key messaging we want to deliver. Because if it's too much, then, the message we want to convey is going to get lost.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate your background, your experience, and I think it'll help bring the communication side of it further along in a positive way.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the board?
Well, I think
I
President
have a few
Millibar, she, Jessyca has a little bit.
I have
more
a
of
few
an update.
slides, want
Yeah.
to
Oh,
showcase a few things that have been going on over the last several weeks here. And I think a lot of you have, probably seen some of this, but there's been a strong cadence of news releases and editorial comments really coming out from, or coverage, sorry, from the governor's office, as well as DWR, focused really strongly on, the benefits of the Delta Conveyance Project, looking at engineering resilience, cost efficiencies, climate adaptation, community benefits. And here at DCA, we've been working really collaboratively, particularly with DWR, to support some of these communications and provide updated materials and messaging focused on the engineering design as well as costs. I would just also point out, and Director Luna, you alluded to this earlier, but yesterday DCA was on hand for a press conference in the governor's office in support of the trailer bill, and Director Luna represented DCA. So thank you for making yourself available for that. It was a really strong showing of diverse support from across the state, and Secretary Crowfoot was there as well, headlining the press conference. So in terms of where we've started on some of the messaging and material updates, the refreshed board report, which we can continue to work together to evolve as we go along and make sure it's meeting everyone's needs. And then a couple of fact sheets that we tackled right away, and these were linked to in some of the communications that DWR has put out. They've been doing weekly e-blasts starting in mid-July that are going to continue through late September. So we updated messaging around how the engineering and design of the project is really being designed to reduce impacts, both on the environmental side as well as the community side, and then cost efficiency. So in terms of, why DCA as a purpose-built organization and a really cost-conscious approach to contain costs through the project's, the design and ultimate implementation. And these materials are now available on the DCA website. And we did just yesterday relaunch the social media and are starting to put out, again, not, one big fact sheet, but putting out key facts and information from the fact sheets. There you go. Thank you, Claudia. So this will continue on over the next, couple weeks, leveraging that content. And then we're building out more of a content calendar for all of those platforms and making sure we have the appropriate strategies for the different social platforms, just knowing there's different audiences that access the information in different ways online. We've also been looking at events coming up here in 2025 for the closeout months here of the year and into 2026 in terms of where we want to be sure that DCA has a presence. Just I think 2 weeks ago, August 8th, we were down in Ontario for the Southern California, the BIA conference down there. And Deputy Director Bessner with DWR was speaking, and we were able to have a DCA booth and have some really great touch points and conversations with attendees there. And we've got the OC Water Summit coming up here in the next couple of weeks in early September. And then, like I said, going through a scorecard, a new scorecard approach to make sure we're being really thoughtful and strategic in terms of where we want to be showing up and how we want to be showing up. And then lastly, just kind of looking forward in terms of what's coming up. In terms of social media, as I said, we just relaunched it this last week. We had gone on pause just to take a step back and relook at the strategy there and the types of content and messaging that we wanted to share. So we're going to continue that, building that out. We're working through refreshing the brand guidelines, some more template updates from memos to PowerPoints to reports, just to again make sure that we're consistent across the agency. And then we're looking to conduct a communications assessment. So talking with various members of the communications teams at the PWAs, we want to make sure, one, we're sharing some of our approach as we've, started here and what we're looking to do and hoping to achieve, and then getting some feedback in terms of what types of materials and how can we be, most helpful going forward as well.
Very good.
you.
Does that complete?
That
your-
completes my report.
Yeah, Jessica, thank you for that report, and it's always good to, hear your communications efforts. I guess maybe just one general question. You don't have to, ask it now, as you kind of settle in your new role. I think like on the state water contractor side, they also have like a communications, contract as well, I think it's Pheno and
It
Hutton.
is, yes.
And I gotta believe the efforts here are complementary, but I don't know for sure. So maybe at a future meeting, we kind of discuss, the synergies between, these different efforts.
Yeah, I'm happy to. And we do communicate with their communications team as well. So there is collaboration that goes on there.
Director Chang, I mean, I'll just offer that it is a very coordinated, large communications group at large that includes DCA, DWR, and PWA communications team. So it's a very closely aligned team of folks working together with a lot of collective strategy. And so, yeah, it is a very well coordinated system that is working on communications. But we'd be happy to share more if there's an item or you'd like to hear more detail about the coordination that's taken place.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
No. Okay, we'll move on to environmental report, DWR. That's Ms. Buckman.
Thank you, President Millibar and members of the board. We have quite a bit of environmental permitting activities going on right now, so just a few highlights. I think as many of you know, including Director Chang, who was there, we have water rates hearing going on right now. This is for our change in point of diversion in our water rates. We are, just as a reminder, not asking for an increase in our water rate, just adding 2 new points of diversion. So the first phase, we made our case in chief, and we are currently in the second phase where the protestants are making their cases in chief. The first part of that was the state water contractors. So the state water contractors made their case, including 2 panels of witnesses, of which Director Chang was one of them. Starting on September 2nd, we move on to other protestants, and that will continue through at least mid-October. There are a lot of dates, usually 2 to 3 days a week of testimony. On the Endangered Species Act side, we are working with NIMS and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to move the biological opinions forward. They are making good progress, so I'm feeling pretty optimistic about those being done in the near future. For Delta Plan consistency, we are working on our certification of consistency with the Delta Plan for submittal to the Delta Stewardship Council this fall. And one last thing to mention, which is also sort of a communications piece, we released our accountability action plan last 2 weeks ago. And the accountability action plan documents 5 different components, of which they were included in the EIR, but we really were trying to develop and move them forward. And these are the different pieces that collectively will help us maintain transparency to the communities and accountability to the communities that we're doing what we said we're going to do. So the 5 pieces are an ombudsman program where members of the public can come and express concerns, and the ombudsman can try to help expedite addressing those concerns. The mitigation and monitoring program, where all of the mitigation and monitoring from the permits will be completed, and there will be some transparency so that people can see how it was completed. The community benefits program that we talk about quite a bit. Some general communications that we're going to be working to communicate things consistently, and also community advisory groups that will be led by the DCA, really focused on different facilities and how we can make specific design choices around those facilities the communities would appreciate. Things like archaeological details, landscaping, access. So those things will be addressed through community advisory groups as well. So I think that completes my update. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions of Ms. Buckman?
I'll just make a comment that I know, we meet every other month, but really appreciative of Department of Water Resources, particularly your work behind the scenes and pulling all the information together. And really, I always feel educated every time I speak with you. And so, and there's so much coordination that is happening, between contractors, DWR, Sheehan now being involved, Graham. I mean, there's so much pieces, so many pieces moving right now. And in the next 2 weeks that I just want to, through my role as the legislative liaison, I see firsthand how much coordination is happening and how much work everybody is putting in. So I just want to publicly express my gratitude for all the work that you do and coordinate with others.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Recently, with the trailer bill, and do you see that we're gonna be advantaged by that, or are we gonna get so much pushback that we don't, are we gonna benefit?
I don't think that my crystal ball is quite good enough to really be able to answer that question. I know that there are tremendous efforts going on, and there's been a really great show of support from the community, from the different groups that really understand how important the project is. And I really appreciate all the efforts that's gone into it. And we will have to see how things go in the legislature.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. No report, correct? So we have verbal reports, if any. I don't know if there are any verbal. Robert, go ahead.
Thank you, President Millibar. Just, kind of echoing what Director Luna was saying. I know there's a lot of work behind the scenes. Trailer bill certainly is the focus, right now, but even absent of that, there's just a lot of things going on. And I do, appreciate everything that, not just DWR, certainly this organization and others are working, furiously behind the scenes to ensure the success of this project. I mean, I think we all see it as being critical. There's a lot of headwinds, against us, but, I'm really confident in the strength of the team, the board, and, in our executive director and the staff. And, I think the effort certainly is, tremendous. So, I think sometimes we just need to kind of remind ourselves, this is definitely a very worthy project and, worth the commitment.
Future agenda items, do you have any, Graham, or anything worth mentioning now before we adjourn?
Not at this time, President Millibar.
Okay, well, without any more public comment or anything, we'll adjourn the meeting, right?
President Millibar, we don't have any public comment requests, and Sarah just waved goodbye, so.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, everybody, for your patience.
Thank
Have
you.
a great
Dennis.
day.